How's it going, everyone? Cannabis Express 420. In today's video, we're going to go over how many plants you can and how many plants you should be growing in your grow space. This is a super common beginner's question, and I hope that I can cover this question well enough to give you a good idea of how many plants you should grow, whether you're on your first grow or your fifth grow. So without further ado, let's get into it. Also, sorry for the late upload for today. I kinda didn't have my shit together this weekend, even though I did have a long weekend to prepare. It was a filled schedule, but what are you gonna do? Getting this video out to you guys now, and I hope you enjoy it. So when you're talking about something like how many plants you can grow in your grow space, it's very important to take into account first how big your grow space is. If it's a large grow space, obviously you have the capacity to grow more plants in it. In a medium grow space, you can still get high yield plants and at a smaller quantity, and in a really small grow space, you can maximize it by planting one plant at a time and getting a higher yield off of that individual plant than you would if you grew multiple at a time. And at the same time, you would have a shorter growing period. And I think to go over this first, I'm going to talk about how you would grow in a 5x5 space or something similar to that. A nice square dimensioned area to give you guys a good idea of how many plants you could fit in your grow space, because honestly it could vary by a couple of factors. And the first factor I want to talk about is how many strains you are planning on growing individually. So as a consumer of cannabis, it is very important to keep in mind that it is good to have a decent variety of cannabis to have around. So if you're going onto your first grow and you have a good amount of cannabis that you have collected from dispensaries or collected from friends that gave you weed, I would basically start with one plant at a time, see if it germinates. If it gets past the germination stage, push it through the veg and then into flower from that point. And then hopefully it won't matter how much you yield off of that plant. But if you are someone who's looking for variety and you want to grow like 3 or 4 strains at a time, it's going to be very important to keep an eye on how much space you want each plant to take up. So after you have decided how many strains you want to grow, let's say you're like me and you want to grow 3 different strains through an entire grow cycle, and you have, let's say, a 5x5 grow space to grow them in. At that point, I would take the plants and then grow them up until they're getting to a point where they're a little bit crowded in the room, but there's still a decent amount of space in between them, and that is the point when I would be comfortable putting them into the flower stage. I want to make sure that I can water them without too much trouble, and that I can defoliate them or get in and under them and do the work that I need to do without too much of a hassle and too much risk of breaking branches or snapping leaves off that I don't intend to snap off, because leaves are the solar panels of the plant and you don't want to break them unintentionally. Every time you remove a plant, it should be intentional, whether it has deficiencies, whether it is wilting from not getting enough light, or if it's just taking up unnecessary space, or if it's not one worth tucking, which you can also do. On the other hand, if you are planning on growing a single strain and you want to maximize the yield that's coming off of the plant, I would get 2 different tools. I would get a scrog net and I would get a very good handle on your low and high stress training. Those are 2 things that are going to be crucial if you want to maximize the surface area your plant takes up and you want to maximize the yield naturally that your plant is going to give off. If you're growing one plant at a time, get a scrog net or 2 and then layer them above your plant. And also an important thing to make sure is that you have enough room for your light to go up and down as needed. I would give about 3 feet of room in your grow space simply for that purpose. Low stress training will come in handy whether you're growing 1 plant or whether you're growing 3 plants, 5 plants, 10 plants, whatever. But the 2 biggest things are you going to want variety? Most people are going to say yes, so you'd want to grow more than 1 strain at a time. If you have a supply, again, I would recommend that you grow one plant at a time, get a good handle on growing a single plant at a time until you get better at dialing that in, and then take on more. Because two, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. This can get you into a whole lot of trouble. A bunch of plants will go underwatered. You won't know how to keep up on all the plants. The humidity, if it goes up, if it spikes up, that could cause you huge problems in a room with multiple plants rather than one, where if it becomes too much trouble, you could simply lose the one plant, solve the issue, and then get back into growing. And hey man, the biggest thing to remember is have fun. You're growing cannabis. Everyone wants to grow cannabis. It's one of the greatest experiences in the world. It can be very simple once you get a good handle on the fundamentals, and that's one of the things I'm trying to teach you on this channel. Just have fun, don't bite off more than you can chew, and get your training straight. That's the biggest three things when you start growing, and to maximize your space to get the highest yield possible in a tiny grow space or even a large grow space. So I hope this video helps you guys. And again, I'm sorry for the late upload. Won't happen again. That's probably a lie. But hey, see you guys later. Thank you very much.